Hi, welcome to Big Guy Boards. This is going to be my review of the Lost Roundup. This is my second review of this board. I had done one previously, it was one of my first reviews. I'm just redoing a couple of reviews so you can see the rocker and template of the board a bit better, and give you a bit more of an update on conditions that I've used the board in since my previous reviews. So design features of this board. So this is a step up board. So for me, a step up is something that you go for when the conditions start to get really solid. You need an added bit of length to allow you to paddle into the wave a bit more easily and get in a bit earlier. And also more of a pulled in, generally rounded pin or pintail. That will give you the hold in the wave. So the wave doesn't feel like it's going to step out, or it just gives you that added hold that you need in more solid waves. So design features for this board, what attracted me to this board is I'm a bigger guy, I need more volume. So I was looking for a step up board that had enough volume for me but didn't compromise with either too much length. So for me, this isn't a proper gun. This is for, you know, more solid waves that we occasionally, very rarely get in the UK, or to use when I go away, but you know, to use within my limits. So not huge waves, but I need that added bit of foam and length. So that's what I was looking for, but to get the volume I need, so my high performance board at the time was 44 litres. Generally, I go for slightly more volume in my step up boards. I think it gives you that added confidence. You don't need as much performance. You're not doing the turns you would be doing in head highish waves. So I was looking for around, I think I was looking for around 45, 46 litres. This is just under, this is 44.8 litres. So I wanted to get that, but I didn't want to compromise by, you know, having loads of foam in the wrong place in the board, and I didn't want so much length that it was too long and just felt, you know, a bit boaty. So that's what attracted me to this board, really. So it's a step up board. It's got a bit more foam, but you don't really sacrifice on the performance you want in a more solid wave. So in a similar way to the Lost El Patron, which I've done a different review on, and a couple of other boards that Barlas has shaped. He's snuck the foam in a clever way, but without, as I say, he's not really sacrificed the performance. So there's a lot of thickness running through the board. It's nicely distributed, but when you get to the rails, they still, you know, it doesn't feel as thick on the rail as it does as it is in the middle, but it's not a really domed deck, so it's really clever how he's packed the volume in there. So that's the design features of the board. Obviously you can get a lot more detail online. I'm just speaking from my experience, really. I'm not going to go through all the details of the board. You can look that up. But conditions that I've ridden this board in, so obviously it's designed as a step up. It's meant to be ridden in solid waves, well overhead. I've ridden it in a range of conditions, so I've ridden it on the lower end. I think at one point I was getting a repair done. This is the only board I had. And I took it in probably just below head high waves. I think another point as well, because second time I've had it in smaller waves, the swell just really quickly dropped off again to, you know, head high, maybe below. And it just doesn't work in those waves at all. Obviously it doesn't fit into the wave at all. This is 610. My high performance board is around 6.6. So at 610 it doesn't really fit into the wave very well at all at that size, and it also just feels really wooden, and like it just doesn't want to turn, and it feels horrible basically. So definitely not a board for, you know, average smallish waves. I've ridden it all the way up on the opposite end of that spectrum to well overhead, and I've recently been to the south of France as well. There's an outer bank there in Hossegor called Le Nord. So when all the beaches are closing out, that starts breaking. I'd ridden that wave once before, and I was advised to hire a proper gun that was shaped specifically for that wave. So when it starts to get quite solid, you need more board than you would think for the size in that wave. I think it's because of the lateral thickness of the wave and the way it moves. You just need a lot more board to get into the wave. So the first time I rode it, it wasn't massive. It was double overhead plus, so probably 10 to 15 foot faces, maybe around the lower end of that, maybe 10 plus. So that was on a different board. It was really easy to paddle into the wave. As a comparison, so the reason I'm telling you about that is the second time I surfed there recently, I've just got back from a trip to Hossegor, another really solid swell. So this was easily 10 to 15, easily I'd say 15 foot on the sets, maybe 15 plus faces. I took this in, the swell hung around for a couple of days. The first day I rode this, and it was really busy. So there was, the lineup was packed. It's a bit beach breaky, so it's not just one peak that you're taking off on, but even though it was spread out, it was still so hard to get a wave. And as I say, everyone out there is riding with loads more foam. Generally, the smallest boards out there are like 8 foot. They have loads more width in the nose to paddle into the wave, and loads of foam running all the way through the nose. This has got a little bit less up front. So I was competing for waves out there. I wasn't sure how well this would work. Again, from my previous experience out there, I thought I needed a lot more foam to get into the wave, but I managed to nick a few waves, and I was surprised how easily this paddles into the wave. And what that tells me about the board is paddle power is brilliant. I think I was on one of the short boards out there on that day, the first day. And like I say, I was competing with everyone else who were on bigger boards, so I couldn't get as many waves as everyone else. But when I managed to nick a wave, it paddled in and felt awesome. And on the drop as well, it's just a board you can really trust. You don't have to give it a second thought. You can just focus on survival basically, and making the drop, making it down the line. So for those kind of waves, this board is fantastic. It's, as I say, you don't give it a second thought, and the paddle power of it is unbelievable. I wasn't sure whether I'd have enough, as I say, paddle power to get into the wave, but the waves I managed to nick that day, it surprised me how easily it got in. I did have to take off a bit later, but it still caught the waves really well. Really good hold, obviously, with the tail. And yeah, I completely trusted the board and it absolutely flew. The second day out there at Le Nord as well, the swell had slightly dropped, but only very slightly. But I think for most of the time out there was 3 or 4 of us out, and it was still 10 to 15 foot. It was solid. I think it was changeover day where people are going back home from campsites. So it was literally one peak. There was 3 or 4 of us out, and I had more opportunity to get more waves, and again, paddling in, wasn't effortless, but I definitely didn't feel like I needed more foam. I could get into the waves really well. Same in the UK as well, so not quite that big, but easily double overhead in the UK, and it's the same feeling really. Paddling in, it just feels unbelievable, and I really feel as though I have the confidence when I'm on the board. To get in and make the drop and make the bottom turn. Generally, my experience, if I feel like I'm on the wrong board for solid waves, it's in my mind. As soon as I make the drop, it doesn't feel right, and it's in the back of my mind for the rest of the session there. Whereas this board, it's effortless, and you give it absolutely no thought at all. So it's perfect for that. Fin wise, so I think this is down to personal preference with fins. So for me, I want the added control of a thruster. So that's how I got the board. I think you can have it shaped as a quad. So some people prefer, when they're riding a step up, to have a quad for extra speed and hold in the barrel. I'm personally not getting barreled that often, especially in waves where I'm reaching for this. I'm not really wanting to get put into the kind of waves that are barreling at that size. So for me, this is more of a open face type of wave, more of a point break, or as a a well-known example, Bells Beach, for example, Big Bells. I haven't ridden it there, but we've got a point break which it performs in quite a similar way, and for me it's perfect for that. So another characteristic of this board which Matt Biolos designed into it is it's not just down the line grabbing rail, putting it into barrels board. It's meant for bigger waves, but it's more of an open face type of board, which is another reason that I got it. Really, you can actually, when it starts to get to the kind of size it's meant for, it really starts to come alive, and it really feels really fun to turn, and really like it's meant to be in those kind of waves. So I think I've covered everything there. So that's been my review of the Lost Roundup. If you have any comments, please add them. Also, if you want more in-depth discussion about this board or any other type of boards for bigger guys or people that need more volume, go to the Big Guy Boards forum on Facebook. Thanks for watching.